Hello, I wanted to get started on an easy topic. So, over a year ago, my brother Martin emailed me with a list of questions, and one of them was on he asked, why don't Christians keep the Sabbath day holy? And I thought that was interesting. Um, he went through some of the same religious classes, Lutheran catechism that I did, but so I thought he would know some of the basics. But I'm going to cover that in depth, and maybe a few of you will pick up something new that you hadn't thought of before. Taking things from the top, the first bullet point comes from Acts 15, and that is the Jerusalem Council, where they meet and to discuss the basic issues of Gentiles coming into the faith and what they have to do, and specifically if they have to follow the same Mosaic code, especially things like circumcision. And what the decision of that council was, and that is presumed to be under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. What they decided is that the Gentiles should basically just abstain from a few different things like sexual immorality, eating food sacrificed to idols, uh, eating things with the blood in them. There's like 6 basic things. In Judaism, they have this belief called the Noahide laws, and that's a way of having, it's like Judaism light, where you can have a person worship at a synagogue without being a Jew. And what they have actually fits close to the Noahide laws. Like there's some kind of a basic understanding of basic morality for Gentiles, and that maybe explains some of the things that you see in the New Testament, where you've got these Roman centurions that are worshiping at synagogues and stuff like that going on. So there seems to be some basic ideas at the time that were in the heads of people. But if you pay close attention to the text, you'll notice that it mentions, I'll just read the last. For the law of Moses has been preached in every city from the earliest times and is read in the synagogues on every Sabbath. They mention offhand, it's mentioned offhand that the Torah, that the Gentiles are going to Sabbath and hearing the Torah and stuff like that. It's not codified as an official requirement, but essentially, yeah, Gentiles are worshiping on the Sabbath. Essentially, we're riding the coattails of Judaism, because really Christianity is just a branch of Judaism. And really, this is the main aspect of the topic. Now, the second bullet point of it's like, if that isn't sufficient, because this comes up with Seventh-day Adventists and some Messianic Jews, for instance. The next bullet point, if that's sufficient, is just to look up all the verses from St. Paul where he speaks of the necessity of keeping Jewish holy days, and things like Colossians 2:16, Galatians 4, 9 through 10. And besides all that, you have the Judaizer conflicts, and that's all over the New Testament, like where I think reading church history, Eusebius, they say that some of the Pharisees were converted, and they were some of the instigators of the Judaizer type problem that you see in the New Testament, that Paul deals with at a few different of the different epistles. And Now, but I think the final answer on this, which I think is actually the most interesting, and this is probably one that you hadn't thought of before, but it's very relevant culturally speaking, is my second answer, or my last answer to my brother was, um, it's that Christians we actually do keep the Sabbath if you follow the traditional spirituality of early Christendom. So, for instance, not so many years back, I was worshiping in a Orthodox Egyptian church, Coptic church, and you have different. You could have like Friday service and other things like that. So, where we get the weekend, what people don't realize, our weekend comes because basically the early Christians did this. We worshiped on Sunday, which is the Lord's Day when He resurrected, but also that the original Sabbath was something that was kept. And what happens is the Sabbath for us is sort of this preparatory day to get ready for Sunday. Um, and essentially, Christianity created the weekend. So for the people that make an issue of this, you do actually have the opportunity to worship on the Sabbath, and we actually have a much better setup than the Judaizer people, because we got 2 days. Well, they only one was specified. We have the old Sabbath, plus we have the new Sabbath of Sunday, and another thing to study too is it comes up maybe 6 places in the Old Testament Bible. It's called the eighth day, and the eighth day, I forget all the different things, but it ends up being an important theological type or shadow for the coming of Christianity, because in biblical numerology, like 7 is perfection, but if you exceed a number by 1, that is like starting like a new age or a new thing. So with the new covenant, we're worshiping primarily on Sunday, which is the 8th day, because we've entered a better covenant. We've surpassed the old covenant. But you still can worship on Saturday, or actually Friday evening. A lot of churches right now, in honesty, Orthodox and Catholic and some of the maybe High Church Anglican would be the only ones that would have services. But there are places that have like the Sabbath type service. I mean, they'll have a prayer type service going or a mass going, and you can do that. If this is like an important thing, you can do that. And so yeah, Christianity, the invention of TGIF, the weekend, we did that, and it really came out of religious reasons. And it's really just a matter of personal choice, and people have the opportunity to do it. So we have much more opportunity in our worship and also getting a rest. So anyway, I will conclude this rambling lesson, and I'll hope to talk to you later. Bye-bye.